Let's jump right in. Max Verstappen, Formula One's golden boy, seems to have hit a bit of a snag this season, wouldn't you say?
It's definitely been a strange season for him. He was on this incredible run, shattering records left and right, making it look almost effortless. And now, well, it's a different story, isn't it?
It's like watching a completely different driver.
Oh,
What we're diving into today is an analysis titled Max Verstappen's Performance Downgrade in 2024, a deep dive into the technical factors and his potential comeback. It really digs deep into all the technical stuff happening behind the scenes, and honestly, it's pretty fascinating.
oh, absolutely. And you're right, it does get pretty technical, but it's crucial for understanding why we're seeing this sudden dip in performance. It's not just one thing either. It's this perfect storm of factors all coming together at the worst possible time for Verstappen.
A perfect storm, you say? That sounds ominous. So walk us through it. What are the main culprits behind Verstappen's struggles this season?
Well, they're saying one of the biggest headaches for him has been something called car balance instability.
Car balance instability. That sounds unsettling, to say the least. What exactly does that mean?
Essentially, the car isn't responding the way it should. Imagine driving a car and the steering feels off, like it's constantly trying to pull you in different directions.
So you never quite feel in control, like you're always fighting the car.
Exactly. And Verstappen himself even described the car as jumping on the track at times. It's been a real problem for him, especially when you need that pinpoint accuracy to really push the limits.
Jumping. That sounds a little terrifying, to be honest. But okay, so the car is not handling as smoothly as it used to. What else? This analysis also talked about aerodynamics, right? Something about Red Bull's rivals catching up.
They have, and it's been remarkable to watch. McLaren and Mercedes in particular have really upped their game on the aerodynamic front. Remember those sleek side pods on the sides of the cars? Those things are like wings, and this year, McLaren and Mercedes have absolutely nailed the design.
So they're getting better grip, more speed through corners.
Exactly. And then there are the new floor designs this season, which have added another layer of complexity. The floor of an F1 car is incredibly important for downforce. It's like the foundation of a house. If it's not right, everything else is going to be shaky.
Okay, so we've got the wobbly car, the faster competition. Is there more?
Oh, there's more. We can't forget about the tires. This year, Pirelli introduced brand new tires, and it's been a real learning curve for all the teams, but especially for Red Bull.
Ah, yes, tire management. I hear the commentators talk about it all the time, but I'll be honest, I'm never really sure what they're on about.
It's all about making those tires last as long as possible while still getting the maximum performance out of them. It's a delicate balancing act. And from the data, it seems Verstappen is going through tires about 10% faster than some of his main rivals.
10%, that's huge when you consider how tiny those differences are in Formula One.
Exactly. It means he's having to pit for fresh tires earlier, which costs him valuable time and track position. And then, of course, there are the engine rule changes that came into effect this year.
Right, the power unit constraints. Didn't they basically limit how powerful the engines can be?
They did. It was partly to try and level the playing field a bit.
Yeah, which makes sense in a way.
It does, but it also meant that a team like Red Bull, who have historically had a power advantage, had to make some big adjustments.
So it's like suddenly asking a thoroughbred racehorse to run with a weight tied to its saddle.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's definitely been a big adjustment for them.
So we've got this whole cocktail of challenges: the car balance, the aerodynamics, the tires, the engine. It makes you wonder how it's impacting Verstappen mentally, you know? We've all heard those radio messages, the frustration in his voice.
Oh, absolutely. This is a driver who's used to being at the very top of his game, pushing the limits and feeling that incredible synergy with his car. And now, suddenly, it's like the car is working against him.
It must be incredibly frustrating. You almost have to feel for him, even if he is Max Verstappen.
Oh, absolutely. And you know those radio messages we hear, those glimpses of frustration, those are just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine the pressure he's under, the internal battle he's
It
facing.
makes you think, can he channel that frustration, that pressure, into a comeback? I mean, we've seen athletes use setbacks as fuel before.
We have, and I wouldn't bet against Verstappen doing the same. He's a fierce competitor, and he hates losing more than almost anything. This could be the making of one of the most impressive comebacks in Formula One history.
Now, that's a story I'd love to see unfold.
hmm
But even with all the fire in the world, he's still going to need some serious help from his team.
Oh, absolutely. Red Bull needs to step up big time. It's like a sports team analyzing game footage, figuring out what went wrong, and coming back stronger the next time.
So what's on their game plan for the rest of the season? Where do they need to focus their efforts?
Well, first and foremost, they've got to sort out those technical issues. I'm talking about those engineers back at the factory, hunched over their computers, running simulations, spending countless hours in the wind tunnel, trying to find those tiny adjustments that make all the difference.
It's amazing to think about all the work that goes on behind the scenes, isn't it?
Oh, it's mind-boggling. And it's not just about making the car faster, it's about making it work in harmony with Verstappen's driving style. They need to find that sweet spot again where he feels totally in control, like the car is an extension of himself.
So we've got the aero improvements. What about the engine limitations? Is there anything they can do there? Or are they stuck with what they've got?
They can't magically make the engine more powerful, unfortunately. Those regulations are there for a reason. But what they can do is focus on efficiency, squeezing every last ounce of performance out of that power unit.
It's all about efficiency then, kind of like trying to get more miles per gallon, but with an F1 car.
Exactly. And it's not just about the engine itself. There's also the energy recovery system, or ERS, which is basically a hybrid system that recovers energy during braking and then deploys it for extra power.
Right, right. It's like the car has a little electric boost button.
Exactly. And Red Bull really needs to make sure they're getting the most out of that system. If they can master it, it could give them a crucial edge.
Master the ERS, fine-tune the aerodynamics, and hope for a bit of luck. Sounds like a tall order.
It is, but if any team can pull it off, it's Red Bull. They've got the resources, the expertise, and most importantly, they've got Max Verstappen.
True that. And speaking of Verstappen, there have been whispers about some potential upgrades to the car later in the season, particularly with those high-speed circuits coming out.
There have been a few rumors circulating, yes. And if those upgrades materialize, especially in time for tracks like Suzuka and Monza, well, that could be a game changer for Verstappen.
Those are practically his home turf, aren't they? Those high-speed corners, the need for bravery and precision. It's like those tracks were designed for him.
They might as well have been. So yes, those upgrades, if they happen, could be the boost Verstappen needs to get his championship hopes back on track.
This is what makes Formula One so exhilarating. The constant battle for improvement, the strategic maneuvering, the uncertainty of it all. So we've talked about the challenges, the pressure, those glimmers of hope on the horizon. But the big question remains, can Max Verstappen reclaim his throne this season?
It's the question everyone's asking, and honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Right. It's not exactly a Hollywood movie where we can just cue the dramatic music for the comeback montage.
Exactly. This is Formula One, where the stakes are high, the competition is fierce, and nothing is guaranteed.
We've seen Verstappen at his best, shattering those records, making it look easy. But this season has exposed a vulnerability we haven't seen before.
And that's what makes it so captivating to watch. It's a test of his resilience, his ability to adapt, to dig deep when things get tough.
We talked about those upcoming upgrades, the ones that could be a game changer, especially for those high-speed circuits coming up.
Tracks like Suzuka, Monza, those seem almost tailor-made for Verstappen's driving style, don't they?
It's almost like those tracks are calling out to him, daring him to push the limits. But even with upgrades, even with his talent, it's still a long shot, right?
It is. But I've learned never to underestimate a champion, especially one with a point to prove.
There's that fire in his eyes again, that determination to silence the doubters. Do you think we'll see him back on that top step this season, hoisting the trophy?
I think we'll see him fight for it, that's for sure. Will he dominate like he has before? Maybe not this season. But I wouldn't be surprised if he manages to pull off a few more wins before it's all over.
Now that's something to look forward to. Those races are going to be nail-biters. But even if he doesn't reclaim the championship title this year,
this season will have a lasting impact. It's a reminder that even the best face setbacks, that true champions are defined not by their victories alone, but by how they respond to adversity.
And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating, isn't it? It's not just about the cars, the technology, the speed. It's about the human element, the drive to succeed, the will to overcome.
It makes you think. What defines a champion? Is it an unbroken streak of victories? Or is it the ability to adapt, to learn, to come back stronger?
Now that if you had enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching.